Hello, Spectrum Women. It is I, Becca Lory Hector, here with the June edition of Asking Spectrum Women. You guys, I'm really excited to be here. I cannot believe that it is June already. Like, I don't even know. I can't believe I don't know where did the time go. It's like all of a sudden we started to get busy with vaccines and all kinds of stuff, and now the world is kind of opening up, and I don't know. Time is just flying for me. So, I don't know about you guys, but it is summer here in Colorado, and I want it. Ooh, I am a mess today, and I want it to slow down, man. I want to enjoy the summertime. So I really hope that time doesn't or I'm going to make an effort to make sure that I really make use of my time, I guess, in the next few months, because it's really important that I enjoy the beautiful weather and that I don't just head back into things being busy and forget all the stuff that the pandemic had to teach me. So yeah, in any case, here I am, and as always, you guys have asked amazing questions, and I hope that I will have answers that will help at least the question asker, if not somebody else out there. Of course, as always, if you guys do have questions for Asking Spectrum Women, please feel free to comment with your questions wherever you're watching this video, or you can email them directly to me at info@beccalory.com. You can also use the contact page on my website. Feel free to send me questions whenever they come up for you. I add them to the list, and I do my best to get them into the very next Asking Spectrum Women. So I appreciate your questions very much. Without further delay, let us get into them. So this first question is kind of complicated, and it was really long, but I'm going to kind of summarize some of it. So the person is asking, the person struggles with communicating differently, and okay, so this person struggles with communicating differently and also struggles with achieving goals and maximizing their potential, etc. And because of some medical issues, some surgeries, and some strokes, they will never really be able to work again. So how can they still work on goals and such as someone who doesn't feel able to in the way that they once were able to? So here's the deal with disability. Disability is one of those things that for some people comes into their life very early and they live with it their whole lives. For other people, it comes in briefly and goes. And for some of us, it comes in later in life and kind of sticks around for that. So what I want to talk to you about, person, is a couple of things. First of all, it's perspective taking, which I happen to have just talked about on my live stream. And that is, you have to take perspective from a different place, right? You've always sort of viewed yourself in this one particular way, but now you've had some medical issues come up and you've aged and all kinds of lovely things have happened. And that has changed for you, and how you show up in the world has changed for you, what you're capable of doing, what you enjoy, all of that stuff changes as we evolve and grow as human beings. So what I want to say to you is it's time to reframe. It's time to look at setting goals and achievements and accomplishments that fit into the life you currently live, right? So when you are setting goals, let's not set goals to run a triathlon. Oh, I have a cat hair in my mouth. Because you're just not going to be able to do that. And maybe you won't ever be able to work a full-time job again. But maybe you can get involved with volunteering, right? And so it's all about reframing your life to your current circumstances, right? A lot of us have this tendency to lie to ourselves about the reality. We have a tendency to either make it worse or to soften it up for ourselves. But sometimes we need to step back and take some perspective as to where our reality actually is. So when you are thinking about setting goals and such, you want to set them in your current circumstances. So considering all of these medical considerations, what are some goals that you could still meet? Are there new ways you can add exercise to your life? New ways to add creativity? New ways to add alignment? All of those things, and new ways to find joy. And they all need to be put through this lens. So in fact, it's a great time to kind of recreate your life around this new set of circumstances. And so that's something that I teach a lot of in my course if you're interested in taking that. But the other thing is that it's really an important piece to think about your perspective and your reality, your current reality. And so make sure that you do that and you set goals and accomplishments from that place, from that new reality, not from the reality that lives in here. That is what I have to say on that. Moving right along, our next question is, I was diagnosed late in life as a spectrum woman in 2019. Since my other two children have been diagnosed on the autism spectrum as well, I felt inclined to get checked. The question I'd like to ask is, do you think employers judge you and look at you differently when you disclose to them that you are autistic? 2, are there certain employment roles that we are restricted from working in? 3, is there a group of successful spectrum women on the Gold Coast who are successful businesswomen that I can join? Okay, great questions, because we are looking in this very deep way to incorporate, right, our diagnosis into our life. So here's a woman who has been autistic her whole life, had no idea until she had children, and those kids got diagnosed and set her on a questioning. Right? So now here she is with this diagnosis, and how do I deal with it? Well, disclosure is something that I've talked about a bunch. I've in fact done a whole seminar on it in April, which you can get on my website. I think that would really be helpful to you in terms of how you want to process disclosure, even though that's not really your question. So go check that out. I've talked about it a bunch on live stream as well. But I want to answer your specific questions as well, which was, 1, do you think employers judge you and look at you differently when you disclose to them that you are autistic? My short answer to that is yes. I've talked about that on live stream as well, because there is still something out in the world that we call unconscious bias. And because information about the normalcy of autism and the normalcy of having a different brain hasn't gotten out to the mainstream, isn't part of mainstream culture's thinking process, right? People have unconscious bias about autism that you cannot know about and you cannot prepare for. Okay, so you could go in for a job interview, and the person you're interviewing with, or the person that's going to be your boss, may have had some experience with autism in the past. Maybe they worked with someone who was on the autism spectrum and they struggled with that. Or maybe they have a family member who has very high support needs. Or maybe they have a child themselves who they're watching struggle. And we have to remember that we can't know that. So when we disclose our autism to someone else, we say the word autism and it means something in their head. They may already have a bias or an unconscious opinion about autism because of their life experiences, right? Well, because of that, I think disclosing in the workplace can be very complicated. I don't personally feel like the world is ready for all of us and all of our autismness, right? The world as a whole, and especially the workplace, is not at all prepared for difference. And so what, do people judge? Yes, I've given examples of it. One of the last jobs that I worked in an animal shelter, and I was doing a great job at it. My adoption rates were huge. I had a lot of stay rates. My stay rates with them were great. All kinds of good things. I was doing good stuff, and yet my boss was checking up on my customer service. Why? Because I'm autistic. And so is she doing good customer service, or does she not able to because of the autism, right? It's not because some complaint came through about my customer service or some other thing happened with my customer service, or that I even said to him, I'm having a hard time with customer service. Quite simply, he had the unconscious bias that autistic people would do poorly at customer service, and therefore he needed to check up on all of that. Okay, so that's an example of unconscious bias and how you can be judged in the workplace because of that stuff. So what I say is, don't lead with your autism foot. I don't think it's something that you need to share with your employer unless you require accommodations. If you are not going to be asking for accommodations, there's really no need to disclose, especially so early on into a job, like the interview or the first few weeks. Just like everybody else, you deserve a right for people to get to know you and get to know you at the pace that you want them to know you. And so in that case, I say that is how I feel about workplace disclosure. Blah, blah. Let's see. You had another question. Are there certain employment roles that we are restricted from working in? I want to say no, right? Because theoretically, there is nothing about autism that restricts us from doing a job. It's whether your particular brand of autism connects or misconnects with a particular job environment, right? And that's going to be on a very personal level. So is the autism something that should restrict us from any particular jobs? No. Is it something that makes us good at many jobs? Yes. Does it make certain kinds of jobs more difficult? Definitely. So when we think about that, it's not about a restriction necessarily about what we can't do, but more about what doesn't match us, what doesn't suit us, right? And so, for example, most of us really struggle with a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job. Getting there on time, staying until that time of day, making it through an 8-hour day, 5 days a week leaves us really depleted. Especially when we don't have any flex hours or remote capabilities. It really, it drains us, right? And so I want to say that it's not that we're not restricted from 9 to 5 jobs, but it's probably not a really good match for most people on the spectrum, if that makes sense. So it's that word restricted that makes it sound like it's somewhere on paper and it's, illegal for us to do this job. And that is definitely not the case. We should not be discriminated against to do any job because of our autism. However, there are going to be some jobs that are comfortable and easy for you to do based on your autism, and other jobs not so much, right? I'd never succeed if I had to work in a warehouse full time. It's just too loud for me, right? That's the kind of stuff that we as individuals need to think about, and not necessarily that there are jobs that we're not allowed to do. So that's my answer to that question. Let's see. Question 3 was, is there a group of successful spectrum women on the Gold Coast who are successful businesswomen that I can join? My answer to that is I don't know. So if you are watching and you are on the Gold Coast and you are a successful businesswoman and you are also a woman on the spectrum, please reach out to me and let me know. If you've started a group of that kind, please reach out to me and let me know. I would love to pass it on to the question asker. But more than anything, I would love to have the resource to share with the next person too. You can definitely find neurodiverse women in business groups if you go looking. LinkedIn is going to be a better place for business related groups rather than Facebook, though there may be some on Facebook as well. Start Googling them. If you don't find what you want, question asker, create it. If it's not out there, then it needs to be created. It means that there's got to be more than one of you, right? There's not just you wanting this group to be around. There must be other people that would participate. So create the space for it, and these other women will arrive, and you'll create your own network and your own space that you enjoy. That's my advice on question 3, because I honestly have never heard of one in that particular. So that is my answer to that one. Let's move on to the next question. The next question asker even. I am wondering if the disconnection between dysautonomia and autism. I had thought it would be easy to find, and yet the articles I found on dysautonomia did not include autism as a comorbid. I am a neurotypical partner advocate. Also, I have children and grandchildren who carry traits of autism. Thank you so much. Okay, so here's my one answer to you. First of all, my one answer to you is it is not shocking to me that you are not finding the article you are looking for. As we talk about autism collectively, it's a very young topic. We really have only started to look into the specifics of it kind of in the mid-'80s, early '90s, and we started to learn more about Asperger's syndrome and things like that before we got rid of Asperger's syndrome. But it's really relatively young, and thus the research is also very young. And so you may not find the things that you're looking for. So here's what I say to people, just like I said to the person before, create it yourself. If you are not finding the research that you're looking for, then do yourself a favor. Try and find some of the scientists or researchers that work on dysautonomia, and see if they'd be interested in doing some research of pairing it with autism, and see if you can't get it started. There are a bunch of different groups out there who are always looking for different research topics. And as researchers come into the field, they are always looking for research topics. So if you're not seeing what you're looking for, I would definitely say start creating it. Go about creating it. Look for the other autistics that also have I can't pronounce it, the dis thing, right? I can't make my mouth do those words, those letters together or whatever. But I have to say that because remember, we're a fairly young community and we are not going to have a plethora of resources on everything and its comorbidity with autism. We are just learning about co-occurring conditions that are really common with autism. Forget ones that we know are linked. Right? So, we are only beginning the research into anxiety and depression and autism. And those two we know, a good 80 to 90% of our population struggle with. And so finding something really specific, like the dis-A word, is going to be more difficult. So do what you can to get the research out there. Do what you can to find the folks that have specialized in dysautonomia, blah, 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 and ask them if they would like to study it. I'd be happy to give you more specific resources of groups I think I would reach out to if this is something that you'd like to really, guys, that you would like to proceed with. And if you're going to do that, stay in touch with me. I'll do what I can to hook you up. And of course, if I see anything out there on that topic, I will do my best to remember to send it your way. But what a wonderful question. I also love that you call yourself a neurotypical partner advocate, because I think that's brilliant. And that's exactly what my husband is. And I think that that's what we should call each other, right? I need a partner advocate with me all the time. It's not that I need a support person. That I hate that. It's not that I need to hire someone to do it so I can know the person that's helping me, but I need that person. So a great way to call it. I love that you're a true ally. I love that you're looking out for this information. And I would love to see you do your neurotypical thing and see if you can get some research done on this topic. Because if you're not finding it, it's probably not out there. All right, and so that's my answer to that one. I'm not sure, was that our last one? I have one more. Yeah, I have one more. I just self-diagnosed after a very gentle suggestion from someone who identifies as neurodivergent, and it appears I'm on the spectrum. I'm almost 73 years old. What can I do with this, as it seems very late point in my life? I did definitely get a feeling that it fits, but I mostly feel sad about everything I've lost, screwed up, and most likely will never be able to apply this knowledge to and maybe improve upon. Is there a future in this, given how old I am? How can I access that part of the story? Well, I will tell you that you're not alone. There are quite a few women who get diagnosed in their 60s, 70s. I've even heard from one woman in her 80s who got diagnosed. And while there is going to be a lot of that feeling, because even at 36, I felt that way. Like I'd lost time and I felt angry and I felt like I wasn't going to have enough time to do all the things I should have done in my 20s and all of that, and all of the suffering, really the suffering that I had to live through because of not having this knowledge. So I don't want to deny you that piece. The first year after diagnosis for every single one of us on the spectrum who get diagnosed late in life is a rocky year. It is an overly emotional roller coaster. We go from loving life to hating life to it all makes sense to seeing autism everywhere, back and forth. It's like a terrible tennis match, right? And that's what happens for that first year. So give into it a little. Be kind to yourself, because you can always improve and expand and evolve from further knowledge of self, right? Self-awareness will help you to make better choices for whatever time you have left on this planet. And so is there something to it? What can you gain from it? And I'm going to say self-awareness. I'm going to say personal development, which is what I teach. I have a course that you would do wonderful in, right? Because we all are in different challenge places in our lives, and yet it's the same skill sets that get you through those challenges and figuring out what it is that you need, right? And so even though you sit there at 73 with this new bit of information, and it may not impact something like your work life, because perhaps you're retired already, right? But it may very well have the ability to impact and improve upon your relationships with your family or your spouse or your friends. It can also teach you a whole lot about what brings you joy and what brings you pleasure, and how to kind of help deal with some of the challenges that you've struggled with all these 73 years, and at least for the next whatever years, have your decisions make sense to you and be easier for you and make sense in alignment with who you are. I don't think knowing about self, I don't think self-knowledge comes ever too late, right? And we get it in pieces throughout our lives and all different things. And I want you to think of this autism diagnosis as just another piece of self-knowledge. It's just another thing that can help you to figure out how you fit in the world, what you like, what you don't like, what you're good at, what you're not good at, and where to spend whatever time you have left on this planet instead of wasting it on areas that are unimportant. So do I think there's still stuff to do for you? Yes. Do I think you need to take perspective a little bit? Yes. Do I think there are areas in your life that will absolutely improve with this knowledge, even though you're 73? 100 million%. Do your research, get to know it, get to know your personal brand of autism, right? And then come find the community. Come look for us. We're out here. A lot of us on Facebook, though we seem to be on all the platforms these days. The oldest part of the community is really on Facebook. And I definitely want to tell you to check out Spectrum Women Connect, which is the Spectrum Women Facebook group. And we are all ages in that group. And we are all late life diagnosis for the most part. And you will find camaraderie there. You will find community there. And be able to ask all the questions that you must be having. And so with that, I say welcome to the tribe, welcome to the community. And you get to learn this little special thing about yourself, that some people go a lifetime and into the grave without finding out. And you still have time to enjoy life. 70 is the new 50. Get with it, we say, and get out there. You can definitely do stuff that you enjoy. You can definitely improve upon the quality of your life with the knowledge of your autism. And with that, you guys, I say thank you so much for spending some time with me as we answer each other's questions here, your burning questions, for the June episode of Asking Spectrum Women. As always, you can find this video on my YouTube channel, the Spectrum Women YouTube channel, and I'll post it all over social media. If you have a question you would like to have me answer in one of the upcoming Asking Spectrum Women, please comment wherever you're watching this video or go ahead and email me directly at info@beccalory.com. Thanks so much, you guys. Have a good one. Bye.